teachers, and welcome to our Facebook Live on how to teach speaking, coming to you from the British Council Teaching English Facebook page. Welcome to everybody. My name is Karen Waterston, and I work with the social media team at the British Council. You might hear a noise in the background, and that's because we have two wonderful people to join us to talk about teaching speaking. So let's welcome, who do we have? Kamini. Hello, Kamini. It's lovely to see you again. Kamini Danega.
Kamini Dhaneja. Hi.
Dhaneja, sorry. Hi, Kamini. Whereabouts are you?
I'm based in Mumbai, and good to be back after a while.
Lovely to see you here. And on the other side of me, I have Ivan Kopelios. Hi, Ivan. Whereabouts are you?
Hello, nice to be here again. I'm in the western part of Ukraine, so it's snowy and cold in here, so that's awesome.
Oh my goodness. So we have an international panel. I'm based in Spain, so we're covering all corners of the world. And we are joined by teachers from all over the place, Nepal and many different countries. So welcome everybody. There's Brazil, Sweden. So welcome to everybody. We are talking about how to teach speaking, a popular topic and a big topic. So let's begin. Kamini, can you tell us about your favorite speaking activity? And for teachers watching, what's your favorite speaking activity?
So Karen and I actually have two favorite speaking activities. One that focuses on accuracy and the other that focuses on fluency. So I list out both. So the one that focuses on accuracy is called Erase the Dialogue. So this is when you really want the students to get the form, you want to get them the pronunciation right and all of those things. So you build up a little dialogue on the board, things like, what are you doing this evening? Not much. Would you like to come home for tea? So something like that. So you have the dialogue on the board. You then drill it a few times. And once the students have got the hang of it, you delete certain content words. And gradually, then you go on to grammar words. And progressively, the dialogue gets deleted. It's another technique. We call it progressive. So students now have to remember from memory. And then once they've got it all, you are listening to them, listening to their contractions they're using or any other thing like that. And then they practice it in pairs and they write it down. So that's on accuracy. The other one that I really like is called an activity called 3, 2, 1. Mm-hmm. So here this focuses on fluency. So students choose topics. So before you begin, you ask them to give you certain topics. You put them on the board. They go back in groups and pairs, or maybe individually. Make a little mind map for each topic. They have had their prep time. Then they come back together, ready for the speaking activity. So if you do this face-to-face, you could do it in the class with 2 lines of students, and you shout out a topic, and they speak for 3 minutes. Clap, they move to the next person on the right or the left, whatever, and they speak on the same topic for 2 minutes, and then 1 minute. So that's when they realize that 3 minutes is long, and how far they can go with a topic. Really, it's all about fluency, and you are monitoring. If you were to do this online, you would do it in breakout rooms, agree on the topic. Student talks about a topic for 3 minutes. These could be different topics. The second round, everybody speaks for 2 minutes, and the third round, they speak for 1 minute. So these are a couple of activities which I've used in my classroom.
Those sound great. I like the 3, 2, 1 because they get practice again in a way, but it's not repeating in exactly the same way. So it gives a little bit of sort of interest and motivation, and I guess confidence for students to be doing it again. Thank you so much, Kamini. And Ivan, what's your favorite speaking activity?
Yeah, thank you. For me, it's one of the best that I like to do with my students. It's the debate. It's both with my senior students, like secondary school, with my primary students as well. Speaking about the secondary students, I'm doing it in the following way. We pick up an interesting topic, and we start. I prepare some different, some difficult sometimes questions in advance, and we start talking about something. So the thing that I like to do is to evoke students to kind of argue, but in that soft way. And we're discussing different things, and they want to show and prove their points of view, and they're really, sometimes those classes are very, very noisy, but that's what the teacher does. We have to control that, and they are trying to prove that their point of view is right or correct. So then we just exchange roles, and the other group is trying to or the group or just a person who is speaking tries to prove the other points of view, and so on. So that's really what I like, because this is very often emotional. Sometimes one of the drawbacks of this method is that they want to be quick. They want to prove something as fast as possible, and they backslide to the native language. But we try to avoid it, and that's really nice, because when it is emotional, when that's part of speaking is emotional, the vocabulary is remembered much easier and faster. They try to mimic some of the tone, some of the style of speech of people they've heard on TV, maybe, or in the songs, or some dialogues. So this is really very close to real life situations, and that's what I really
That's
like
a good
about it.
point. That's a good point, Ivan, talking about like as close to real life
Yeah.
situations that makes it. I've just finished a class where we were talking about we were using sentence examples about the students, and they found it much more interesting because it's about their life.
Yeah, that's very close, related to them. That's
Yeah.
what they like.
And so choosing topics that are interesting. On the debate, I do a 4, similar to what Kamini was talking about. I do 4, 2, 1. You have 4 minutes to talk about it, and then 2 minutes to give your other side, and then 1 minute to summarize. So similar.
Okay.
I
That's interesting.
Concept. Yeah.
Good. I'll try that. Nice one.
Nice tips.
So, Ivan, you mentioned that some of your students will speak in their first language.
Yeah.
So it's a common question that we've had from teachers in the past, is the whole idea of what if the student's speaking in their first language, or how do you encourage them to use English rather than their first language? So, Ivan, what do you do in your classrooms?
Once I've started, I wanted to make a kind of a try to speak only English. So that was my first class, like the very beginning of the year, fresh students, and I was talking only English for like 4 lessons. And after the fourth lesson, I was forced to say something in Ukrainian, in my native language, and they were like, "Oh my God! Finally, we thought he's not speaking Ukrainian," and that was really the moment, when you realize that this is impossible to completely not use your native language. But anyway, we have to encourage. For example, I say, I don't understand what you're talking about. If a person backslides to Ukrainian, for example, and I encourage them to at least to try to replace the ideas that they are not able to express, or just use your gestures, or show it to me, or you may draw it, or you may try to explain it with some easier words and simpler words. So that's how I deal with this in my classes. Definitely, this is really difficult. This is really a big problem, but yeah, we're trying.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, with a lot of these questions, there isn't a sort of easy solution. Otherwise, it might not be the problem anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
Kamini, what happens in your classrooms with students using
So
first
I
language?
think it depends on the level that you're teaching, especially at lower levels. And typically, I'm assuming most of the audience here, the teachers who are teaching young learners, and especially at primary level, it does happen. And occasionally, I wouldn't mind it because it is comfortable. they have some kind of emotional support with their language. And I think research suggests that if one first is, if they can't master their home language, they won't be able to master a second language. Second, being able to use their home language actually aids learning English. So, and that's the stance we as British Council also take. We support multilingualism. So I wouldn't mind, especially at lower levels occasionally, but it doesn't really happen at pre-intermediate or intermediate level or higher levels, of course. But yes, there has to be a line that you need to draw. And if it's happening too much, yes, you resort to ways of, okay, what other words can you use, or gestures or mime, or maybe ask a friend and they could help you. But I'm not so strict and militant about it.
That's good. Excuse me. Just going back to, there's been quite a few comments about debates and using, how good debates are as a speaking activity. So, and there's a comment there, Marcus will be able to find it. It's from a teacher talking about talking about pros and cons before a debate and doing some brainstorming with the students beforehand. So, Ivan, yes, there it's go. It's from Donatella. Before starting the conversations, I asked them to go through different options, considering pros and cons, so they all have several elements to agree or disagree about. So, Ivan, what kind of preparation do you do before the students actually start debating?
Definitely, yeah. The pre-speaking activities are really vital because we want some basis. We want to start from something. We want some material to work with, and this is actually helping all level students to be able to take part. Higher level students, they are able to not just say I'm pro this, I'm for this statement or something. They are able to command, to add some ideas and so on. And lower level students are able to use, that simpler vocabulary, but still they have something to work with, and they feel we want to make them feel comfortable and confident speakers, so they have something to use and to work with. So the preparation is really important. Some lists of points that we're going to discuss, some basic vocabulary that some of the students might need, some questions, and of course, students should prepare the questions of their own. So that would be not only proving their own ideas, but trying to find out the ideas of the opponents, or we call them opponents in that situation. It's real life, and that's really important. If we're prepared, if students are prepared, they feel confident. So it's not easy. However, sometimes it's pretty good. So debates are starting just unexpectedly, just from some topic. Somebody drops a word or a phrase, and oh, that's interesting. Let's talk about it. And I drop some questions, and they are starting, and it's like an avalanche, so you can't stop it anymore. And that's the best way. But definitely, when you're preparing in a proper way, your class profile, and that's what you have to do. You have to really prepare for the class.
Yeah, because that eventually helps the students to speak. A lot of teachers have commented on, my students don't have enough language, or they can't do the task. And so that preparation is so vital. Kamini, you were talking about in your favorite activity, the 3-2-1. What kind of preparation do you do with your students? Like, how long might that be before they start speaking?
So for the 3-2-1 activity, yeah. Okay, so I think it is very important to give students a choice. They come up with the topics, because when they do that, they have invested something in it. So they'd be more motivated to talk about it, to say their piece. One is that. Second, the other aspect in that particular activity is questioning, because people might dry up very quickly. So 3 minutes, as I said, could be long for a learner. So then thinking about the topic and follow-up questions that one could ask. So also thinking of questions while they're preparing, so that if somebody's stuck, so, okay, what is your favorite restaurant? They're speaking about their favorite food, or whatever that may be. I loved going there because the food was great. Okay, what type of food did you have? Stuff like that. So preparation includes includes not only thinking about the topic in this particular activity, but also questioning, so that, and ensuring that questions are not yes or no, because that doesn't get us anywhere. But to add to what Yvonne said about debates, preparation is the key. In addition, they need to really get a handle on functional language, because debates are all about giving opinion, agreeing, disagreeing, clarifying a point, maybe a rebuttal or something. Especially oldest, not older students, I wouldn't say, but higher level students. That is part of the preparation, along with different points of view that they're going to discuss, so that the debate, because it comes with formality, you have to have all that. Yeah.
Okay, great. So for teachers just joining, we are talking about how to teach speaking with Ivan and Kamini. And we have been talking about different activities that encourage students to speak. For example, debates and 3-2-1, talking about your favorite ... and how important it is to prepare students for speaking, to provide them with the language and the instructions and practice what they need to do before they start speaking. We also talked a little bit about use of the first language in the classroom and how we can encourage our students to use English a little bit more. So do join us in the comments and any questions you have. So Ivan, we had... you've now done your speaking, you've prepared your students to speak, and they do the speaking activity. And then how do you give feedback on, what do you give feedback on? Language, the task, one by one? What do you do?
Nice. That's a great question. Well, speaking is actually the condensed, condensed idea of what they know. So if they can speak, that means they can write, they can read, they can think English. So that's really a very vast area to evaluate, And one of the most important things is I really like to give the feedback right on the go. So I'm trying to participate in the debate. I'm trying not to correct the mistakes, like, we're trying to make students confident speakers. So we don't want to correct too much, and that's why I try not to correct. And I'm trying to participate. I try to show my interest in what they're talking about. And I'm trying to know, like, the topics they're trying to talk about. And the evaluation of this process is very tricky. It's very difficult, but when you see that a student or a group of students is producing a fluent and a logical queue of ideas, this is really what I take into consideration. We may kind of make up a sophisticated system of measurement of how many words that we've learned to this topic have been used, how many grammar material, how much grammar material they've used during the speaking, how fluent and how good the pronunciation was. But that's too much sophisticated, too many details. I'm trying to do it in general. So if you have managed to convey your idea, to share your ideas, that is a success. It doesn't matter if you've done it like through showing some extra word, like miming something, but if you've managed to convey the idea, the information, that is good. If other students have managed to understand it, to get it, and if I have managed to understand it, that means that's a success. So that's how I measure it. So we try to comment right away. Why was it successful? How did you understand it? Like, did we get it right? Is that what you meant to say? So we're trying, to paraphrase. We're trying to just to make sure that we have understood each other. And I think that's the reason, and that's what shows that this is a success.
And so basically, you're not only assessing the language; you're assessing whether they've been able to communicate.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I'd like my teachers to, because I'm learning Catalan, and I'd like my teachers to do that. I get interrupted in halfway through a sentence, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah, that's right.
Kamini, what do you do?
So Karen, from what you said, and I can say from my experience, I once learned Spanish, and teachers are very bad students, I would say, because we constantly are assessing the teacher who's teaching us. Putting that aside, when I give feedback, it can be speaking, it could be writing. My first thing is to give feedback on content. It's not about the language to start with, because they need to know if they were successful, as Yvonne said, in the task. So feedback on the content, if they brought in, whatever was required, different points of view, whatever the speaking activity is, could be the role play, whatever. After that, you move on to language. But when giving feedback, let's not just typically teachers, everybody loves grammar and focuses on form. Could be, a tense in a particular sentence or whatever that may be. But whatever the feedback is, maybe you feel students made a lot of mistakes, could be vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation. If we tell all of that to them, it might demotivate them. So we need to prioritize feedback. What is it that they need to focus on the most? And the other bits and bobs can be looked at a little later. And also maybe use a sandwich approach of using positive language, keeping the tone really motivating, give that feedback, constructive feedback, and finish again with a positive note. So I think that's the way I go about it.
Thanks, Kamini. Definitely the sandwich approach for me as a student works incredibly well. I respond so well to praise.
Everybody does.
Yeah, that's for
Everybody
sure.
does.
You can't underestimate the power of praise.
Sure.
We've had quite a few comments from teachers writing in about giving feedback, about one teacher's make some notes. Others are looking for sort of general areas.
I have a little strategy which I used to use while I was monitoring. So on a piece of paper, you'd make 4 sections by drawing 2 lines like that and like that. Grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and anything else. So then you will know that what is it that is coming up in the class, and that could be your material for error correction later. So while monitoring, making a note of all of those things. Another thing that comes to my mind is emerging language. So sometimes we expect the students to use the target language, but they might use language which you have not thought that should be the focus of the activity. So it could be something you've taught them in the previous lesson, or it could be something that you've not even introduced to them yet, but it's something new that they brought to the class. So again, that emerging language will tell us if we need to revisit something from the past and review it, or introduce something new because they already kind of know it, so that also helps.
That is fantastic. So do you do that, Kamini? Do you have your grid for individual students, or no for the whole class?
For the whole class. Mm-hmm. And this could be done, so in a face-to-face class, you'd be walking around, but in an online class, students respond via chat, or students speak when they're asked to speak, or maybe they speak, or all of them speak together. But you have a little pen and paper on the side, and you could still very discreetly make those notes, so it's still possible.
Great ideas, yes, and lots of comments coming through again around. Thanks very much for the suggestions. So, Ivan, we've also had some questions from teachers about the quieter students, or the ones who like a little bit not so forthcoming, perhaps. Mm-hmm. Do you have any strategies for that, or do you have students like that in your classes?
I was a student. I was the quietest student at my school, and I was afraid to speak.
Okay.
So now I'm in their shoes, and I know how it is to. That really happens. That we have it's like 50-50 actually in most of the classes. So the big part of the students are really reluctant and are either afraid to speak or shy or have different other reasons for not being able to speak right away, or on the class. Some of the ideas are good, like to share your to make groups or grouping or pairing. So that means you are creating the situations when they are not in front of the whole class, but they are just in front of the group. That may help. But one thing that I like to do is actually using my Google Assistant. This is kind of talking to a real person, but you may do it at home, and that kind of robot is not going to judge you. I just try to say it at home. Try to look for, say, hey, Google, find me a song, or show me some pictures of the cat, or how can I translate this word or that. So this is provoking them to speaking the language, English language, I mean, in this case, and trying to break that barrier of communication to a real person, because sometimes they are even shy to talk to a teacher. They know me for like 3 years already, but sometimes they're still shy to talk to me. And trust me, I'm trying to laugh and to be like a good teacher for them, but still it's a person. I was shy as well, so that's why I say, just try to say it at home. Try to record yourself. Try to listen to it. Something like very simple. Try to do it. Try to make a step-by-step progress, and you will see, like, each student will see that the progress is coming, and next time that student is repeating. A lot of different strategies. Again, it's up to a student. We have to decide based on that information about the student. If we really need some support, if that student needs support from the group, we may ask a group to encourage him or her to talk. That student might need some encouragement from a teacher. So I might say, I'm always saying just one word. If that student produces one word, that's a success. I'm really happy for that, and I'm trying to show that, and that really makes him or her believe that he or she is able to do that. So that's kind of, that's a slow process, but that works.
I love that idea of practicing with Google Assistant, or trying, like, breaking the barrier between the real person. I'm learning Catalan, and I get scared going into a shop, and so I practice my sentences beforehand.
Yeah, right.
What I can't do is practice the response. That's a bit unpredictable, but I can at least practice my sentences. So, in front of the mirror, or just walking in your house, or on the street,
Totally.
or something like that. So thanks so much, Ivan. Those are great practical suggestions. Another question, Kamini, that we often get, and I guess this is also quite typical in India, large classes. So we've had a few comments from teachers saying they have 40 to 45, 50 in a class. How can you manage a speaking activity with that many students?
Believe me, I've taught students with a class of 55 students way back in the day.
We're in good hands.
So it is difficult to start with. However, we need to set up some kind of routines, some kind of rules. I think there are 3 R's to it: rules, routines, and reward. Yes, that's the one. So, once the students talk to them, make a contract with them, a class contract, that these are the kind of activities we're going to do. This is how do you think it should work? Bring them in, and they probably will tell you that, they know what to expect, and they kind of figure it out, what the teacher expects. There are certain rules which are agreed with the students, and of course they're rewarded with praise and encouragement, and maybe a chocolate now and then, or whatever. So large classes, you need to kind of work with them rather than going into the class and saying, okay, this is how we're going to do it, like it or not. That's not the approach we should take. We should work together, and then it is manageable. Otherwise, it would never be.
No, exactly. And in the large classes that I've taught, that sort of organization of breaking the class into
smaller groups,
and then you're just replicating a small class.
Yeah.
But it does, like you said, it takes a while to get used to it and to train the students to do it. We just had a comment there from Donatella. Let me see if I can bring it up. It's about Ivan. We've been having comments coming through about practicing in front of the mirror and breaking down that barrier for the quieter or shyer students. Donatella says there are some nice videos on learning this trend where you can pretend to be having a conversation with someone, which is a fun activity. Yeah, nice, isn't it? Yes. Thanks, Donatella. So the reason that we are talking about speaking is that we have a course, an ongoing course called How to Teach Speaking, a Teaching Pathways course, a free online course at the British Council. There are 3 components to the course, 3 modules, where you look at understanding speaking and maximizing interaction, something we've been talking about today, and some practice activities that you can do to help your students with speaking. So you can, and the important part is you can get a certificate at the end of the course. So do sign up to the course. The link is, we'll send the link in the description. And you can enroll right away. So thank you so much, Ivan and Kamini, for joining us and for your fantastic practical suggestions. Thanks to Marcus and Anne behind the scenes, and we will see you all again soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.